Hello, my dear, and welcome to our 5 minutes with Ekaterina war vlog about Dnipro, the central Ukraine. And for the beginning, I would like to update you on what's happening in the city itself, because it's been a while when we were talking with you about it the last time. And Dnipro is alive, and a lot of businesses are still working. A lot of cafes, restaurants are operating. And if you move around the city, you would not immediately spot that there was going on because we have a lot of new construction sites and new houses, high-stored buildings are built now. And it is due to the governmental program that refugees would have the beneficial or the priority in getting the governmental loans in order to buy an apartment. And that's how the developing companies they started to do these constructions. And you will see a city with normal traffic, even a little bit more traffic than usual due to a lot of refugees coming. And you will see construction sites, you will see restaurants, and this is something that annoys a lot soldiers going from the front line to some kind of rotation, rehabilitation, or maybe just having the necessity to buy something, because they see that the life is so normal, and they sometimes think that whatever they're doing at war and the great efforts and risking their life at the front line is in vain. But that's not true, because Dnipro is still a hub, a military hub, and also it is now one of the frontline big cities, because if you look at the map, you will see that on the front line, the next city, the next big city will be Dnipro, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv. So we are in this line where people will go for evacuation, and also it is the place where a lot of military vehicles are coming through. And it's a very strange feeling, because you're just going down the road, and you see that there will be some expensive cars, then you will see some military vehicle, then you might see a big truck with some big machinery like a tank or some big missile throwing system, and then you will see a very old car of a refugee, and it's very easy to spot, because they're moving towards the city, they're moving in the city, and the car will be loaded with a lot of things, a lot of everyday things people try to evacuate from the war zone, which will be like pillows, carpets, a lot. Sometimes it will be the furniture items, but rarely, because usually you would prioritize the smallest things over it. And it's very conflicting in my mind when you see it in the same reality, and it happens simultaneously. If for some reason you need to go to the cemetery, you will see a lot of graves of soldiers who already died at war, and it's also very depressive. So when you live in Ukraine now, it's very confronting and very opposing realities without even knowing is it a piece of normal peaceful life, or is it a piece of military life. And the threat of the air attacks is ongoing. On weekly basis, there will be a few explosions. It will be as in different days, so it will be the same day. It can be as many as three explosions of big missiles simultaneously. And you have a lot of sirens. Every day you will have sirens which will last a few hours, then they will stop for a few hours, and they will again last for a few hours. My strategy is to ignore it, and it is not the best one. I would not recommend it to anyone, but I feel psychologically better if I just don't follow. It is more difficult to do in the places where you actually can hear the siren, because in the place where I live, I can barely hear it outside. But if you live closer to this loudspeaker that is transmitting the information, you will have the siren literally in your life. It's very annoying sound. It's very scary sound by itself, and it's adding up noise that might follow afterwards. As for the last week, we didn't have explosions in the city, but before this, there were arrivals, and regretfully, the people died this way. And of course, it's you understand that it can be a random drone, and it can be a random rocket, and it would hit you in the place where you are, or it can be a rocket that is hit by the anti-missile system if you're outside usually of the city, and the debris will fall on you. It's still a lot of pressure. As for the weather conditions, it's a little bit colder now. It's 13, but it's not cold, which means that people don't turn on heating or cooling systems, and the situation with the energy is a little bit better. As that means that we did not have any blackouts last week, and hopefully the energy system would cope. They say that in winter it will be more difficult because people will turn on heating, but now it seems to be stable and more or less fine in this regard. As for the frontline situation itself, it is extremely difficult because Ukrainian army had to leave the town of Vuhledar, and Vuhledar is now almost ruined. It was a good decision in terms of keeping people alive to leave this town, but strategically, from the military point of view, from the territory point of view, it means that Russians will have the opportunity to occupy further, and to occupy further it means to approach Dnipro region itself, because it's a very short distance. It's less than 120 or 130 kilometers now to Dnipro, and the closer they come to the city, the more possibilities there will be that they will be able to shell us with the smaller calibers, which, as I told you long ago, it's one of my biggest fears, because they have unlimited supply of that ones from the from North Korea. And also, it's very concerning what happens in Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia and Dnipro, we are kind of twin cities. We have a lot of connections. We have a lot of friends there, a lot of relatives, and it's very close to Dnipro. Regretfully, Russians were able to approach Zaporizhia, and they started to shell Zaporizhia even more. That's terrible what they're doing, because there are a few strategic objects there in the city, but they are all built in the way that the residential buildings are very close nearby. And it's very difficult to tell what they were going to bomb the last time when they had this massive attack on Zaporizhia, but what they bombed in reality is residential buildings, because their rockets are not precise, and because of the building there, it will be like a big plant, and it will be surrounded with a lot of residential buildings, and then there will be, for example, the city council, and it will be surrounded by the residential buildings itself. It's the specific of the planning of the city. And of course, Zaporizhia has this huge dam, which was also hit. I told you about it. It was also previously hit, and if Russians hit it again, there might be a big flooding, and the level of damage will be much worse than what we've seen when Kakhovka Dam was destroyed by Russians. That's the general situation, and the bombings in different parts of Ukraine, they are prevailing. This week they bomb Kiev heavily, then they will bomb Odessa heavily, then they will bomb Dnipro heavily. They constantly bomb Kharkiv because they can reach it with the smaller calibers as well. Which puts a lot of pressure, and people, soldiers at the front line are tired, people are tired, everybody is stressed, and there are few political corruption scandals within the country, which also is adding up, and the mood inside of the city is not very good. In the terms on the side of the population who follows and who tries to do something to stop Russians. And there are also some people who went into denial, and they decided that they will live their life. It's a very popular saying now, live life. And they just pretend that nothing happens, ignore sirens like I do. But on top of this, they try not to read the news and just try to do the everyday business, everyday things as smoothly and normal as possible. Some of them are donating to the army, but that's all their involvement. And regretfully, also we have traitors inside of the city, and Russians have the tactics of hiring the young people from vulnerable groups of the population. They find them online and they offer them money. It can be $1,000, it can be even $3,000 sometimes. And the things that you have to do in exchange of this money is to put on fire the military vehicle. Uh, there are military vehicles that serve at the front line. It's big ones which have some kind of military equipment, but we also have a lot of civilian vehicles, especially for vehicles that you will use in the mud, or that you will use when you travel into the mountains, for example. We use a lot of those at the front line, and they serve as just carrying the personnel, carrying food, carrying ammunition, evacuation cars. They have a lot of applications, because my friend said, what can civilian vehicle do it for? I have a friend who is serving in the army, and he covers about 400 kilometers every month on this kind of car. Again, going to the trainings, going to the city, going to hospital. These cars are doing everything. So all the small tasks, bringing water, bringing food, all the small tasks you might imagine that the tank won't be able to do, and on foot it's too much, too big distance, this car would cover. And soldiers are often bringing these cars to Dnipro for the reparation, because even if it's very reliable for a car, mud prone and mountain prone, in military conditions it gets damaged very fast, and there are a lot of problems that can happen because you need to drive fast, trying to evacuate someone from the war zone in the situation when you are shelled by the artillery. Sometimes you see the holes from bullets in these cars. Sometimes you see that engine is broken. Sometimes something else is broken. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong. That's why a lot of these cars are coming to Dnipro for reparation, and also soldiers go for short breaks. Usually it will be 2 or 3 days in a row, and they will also take a car with themselves. These young people who are recruited by Russians, usually it's young teenagers under 18 years old or under 21 years old, they set these vehicles on fire, they film it, and then they hope to have some money. We have it in different neighborhoods. Police is working on it, but it's difficult to stop it. There's more work targeted to these groups. Usually it's the messenger called Telegram groups and Telegram, where people find these teenagers and recruit them. A lot of work is done to talk to the parents, but it's not working instantly, and we still have these cases here and there. That means that some people, they are in denial of war, some people are refugees from Myrnograd, from Pokrovsk. We have this new big wave of refugees from there, because Myrnograd is now the area where the front line is going, which wasn't the case 1 month ago, for example. But we have a new wave of refugees who are very traumatized, stressed about the need of leaving their places. We have these traitors who try to either destroy the military vehicles or try to give the data for Russians so they can bomb us. And there are also people who are volunteering, who follow the news, who are very stressed over what's happening, but they do try to help the army. And of course, there are soldiers. So the city is very different, the mood in the city is different, the vibe of the city is different, and it's very confronting feelings when you start thinking about it deep, and you try to understand what is happening. That's it. That's the situation. Thank you so much for your help, including because of your help, we were able to buy this kind of vehicle I was talking to you about. Already, it was the first time that we were buying it. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your support of Ukraine and of myself over the time. And I really hope to meet you soon under better circumstances. Goodbye for now.